Everyone, we'll get started in just another minute as more people sign in. Okay, let's get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome and welcome back to Cafe Oleh. My name is Jay Rosen. Here at Cafe Oleh with Nefesh B'Nefesh, we go over the everyday Hebrew you need here in Israel to succeed. Whether that's reading and paying your bills, going grocery shopping and reading nutritional labels, keeping up with the news, striking up a conversation, job interviewing, dating, flirting, complaining, all the everyday things you do in your native language in your country of origin, but here in Israel, modern Hebrew. As always, we want to hear from you what topics you'd like us to cover. You can always be in touch with us by email at hebrew@nbn.org.il. If you're joining us live on Zoom, you can write to us in the chat with any questions, comments, concerns, or topic requests you may have. You can also see all of our previous lessons up on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com, type in Cafe Oleh. The first result will be a link to our playlist with over 180, that's 80, previous lessons. You go into each of them. Not only can you leave us a comment, if you go in the description, you'll see a link to both the spreadsheet and any materials that we share in a given lesson. You can also subscribe to our list there so you get all the latest recordings. You can watch them on demand any time of the day for absolutely free. And finally, if you're joining us live on Zoom, you can write to us with any questions about the topic we're about to discuss in the Q&A. Everything else in the chat we'll be reviewing after class. Um, so we have been in the middle of a mini series called Finding Your Voice, and we're going to continue it today, albeit in a little indirect way. Also, as a heads up, we are finishing up our fall sessions today. We're going to take a week break and come back with our winter session starting in 2 weeks from today. Rena is already posting in the chat our freshly created links to register for those classes. If you are already registered for the fall session, wonderful. You will need to sign up for the winter. You will not only get the links if you're joining us live on Zoom right now, but you will also get them by email. So do not worry. You'll have 2 weeks from starting today to sign up, so plenty of time. And you'll have another chance coming this Wednesday to sign up where you'll hopefully join us for Cafe Oleh Conversations, where we take today's class and turn it into conversation starters. And especially for today's class, I guarantee all of you, all 270 of you are going to want to join us. So let's get started today. So I said we're going to do something a little different with finding your voice, and we are, because we're going to be doing paying your bills. This is this session we do quite a lot. The twist, however, is going to be for Wednesday's class, because if finding your voice is finding the words that are right, creating the words, how words are created, and we're going to continue that into the winter session, by the way. Um, Today is going to be not only how to read your bills and how to pay your bills, but in Wednesday's class, and this is already the preview that I'll remind you at the top of the hour today, we're going to be learning how to negotiate your bills, a very important um, ability to have as thoughtful citizens, as consumers, and as Israeli citizens. And we're going to look at the example we give today, which is the cell phone bill. We've looked at my cell phone bill in the past. We're going to look at it again because it's number one, a good review. Number two, it's one of the more universal bills that all of us in Israel have. And number three, it shows the importance and the development, as it were, of consumer awareness and consumer rights over the years, that this is one of the more well-regulated markets in terms of getting a price that you can see a fixed price on and so forth, but also still showing you how to get a better deal if that exists. So let's get started. And the way we're going to do this is I am going to, like in previous bills, how to read your bills pass, I'm going to show you my own bill. Obviously, I love you all, but you are not going to get my phone number nor certain other private information, but you are going to get to see my bill nonetheless. So, as you see here, I have Golan as my cell phone provider. The way cell phone companies work, it has since been decentralized. It used to be that you had a cell phone number and your prefix number indicated which company you signed up for. And if you moved to another provider, you had to get a whole new phone number. Several years ago, as Golan and other competitors moved into the market, that has changed. So you get to keep your number as you move from one provider to another, which allows for better competition, for better rates, and so forth. I moved from Cellcom to Golan and kept my original Cellcom number that I've had since I made Aliyah, right? So even though I'm with Golan, that is my number still reflects a Cellcom number and vice versa, and people do that all the time. This is the bill. It literally just came to my email yesterday, and we're going to go through it together. Because again, the excuse me, the wonders of the cell phone market and your cell phone bill since in the last 20 plus years has been that it's much more regulated, it's much more computerized. It used to be you had to go in, haggle with someone who scribbled down a whole bunch of numbers and gave you a total bill. Nowadays, it's a very set fixed price, and you can go from one to another and even try to negotiate, which is what we're going to be doing on Wednesday. But today, we're going through my bill, and we're also going to see how you can change my bill if you wanted to, or how I can change my bill. You can't do that. Okay, so first off, what are we looking at? We are looking at an official document. Why? Well, first off, you see this is part of the protection of it, that the official logo is also blurred like that, but that it also, when I hover over it, it says that it's signed by Golan Telecom. It says at the top, Cheshbon Chodshi, monthly bill, and that is a computerized form. Mismach is a document or a form, Memuchshav, computerized. Okay. If we move down, first off, on the bottom here on the right, under Lichvod, which means dear in this context, it says my name, J. Rosen. It gives my address, it gives my email address, and the email address to which my bills go to. Excuse me. On the left-hand side, there's this paragraph here. This paragraph here is a legal bit of news that basically says what you're seeing right now is currently not a receipt. However, it will turn into a receipt upon payment, right? What you're seeing right now is my monthly bill. And what it says here right under this paragraph, it says Pirtei Emtsa'ei Tashlum, right? Right here. Pirtei Emtsa'ei Tashlum, the details, pratim, of Emtsa'ei HaTashlum, the means of payment. So my payment details. Okay. Tashlum b'kartis ashray, it says that I'm paying by credit card each month, right? It's not being deducted from my bank or from anywhere else. It's coming from off my credit card. The name that's on the credit card that's paying, my name. Talef, excuse me, Taf Zain stands for Teudat Zehut, national ID number. That's here. Remember, folks, you do not give out your Teudat Zehut unless it's to for payments or things like that. You don't free nilly-willy give out your number. For Americans, it's not nearly as confidential as your social security number, but this is not something you readily give out to anyone. Excuse me. And then it says here, you avar lechevrat ha'ashray lo lifnei, and then it gives a date. Remember what I just said about this paragraph up here? This by law states that what you're looking at right now is not does not constitute a receipt, and only until the payment has been done. So it says here, you avar lechevrat ha'ashray. This document and this amount listed below will be transferred to your credit card company, meaning your credit card will be charged. Lo lifnei, not before the 22nd of November, 2025. So after that day, when this credit card is paid for, when my credit card pays for my cell phone bill, this will constitute a legal receipt. Okay, and I can use this for tax purposes and so forth if so needing. We skim down, right? And it says here, Sikum acheshbon, right here on the right-hand side in bold in that block, right? Sikum acheshbon means the summary of my bill. Okay, Sikum is a summary. Cheshbon is bill. It also means account. In this case, it means a bill. Okay. You see there's three columns here. On the left-hand side, it says Schum kolel ma'am, the total amount, the amount kolel, including ma'am. Ma'am with those two apostrophes between the second to last and last letters is an apostrophe, an abbreviation that stands for Mas Erech Mosaf, value added tax, VAT, right? Which is a standardized 18% levied on things that need to have VAT, such as goods, such as your cell phone bill, right? So that's the total breakdown on the left-hand side. In the middle, it says litkufa for the period of, and it gives the date. So this is a monthly bill, so it's in monthly installments. And on the right-hand side, it breaks down each part of my bill. So the first one says alut achavila. Alut is the sum, and chavila is the package. So we're on the first line here. You see 1, 2, 3, 4 lines in Hebrew under that first rectangle, right? Alut chavila, the amount, the cost of my cell phone package. And you scroll over to the left and you see that it's 99 shekel and 30 agorot. Okay. Under that, it says chiyuvim kvuim nosafim, additional regularly charged amounts. A chiyuv is a charge. Kavua is something fixed, meaning that it's occurring it's reoccurring, and nosafim additional. And as you scroll to the left, 0. Chiyuvim mishtanim me'ever lachavila michutz lachavila. So instead of regularly occurring charges, these are changing charges. I know that sounds weird in English, but that's how you say it in Hebrew. Chiyuvim mishtanim. Mishtanim means something that changes, right? And it says in parentheses, for example, ma'avar lechavila or michutz lechavila or me'ever lechavila, meaning if I go over my monthly package, or I move to another package, or something has changed in the amount of time that's contained in my package, and you're going to see a little bit what that includes. That would be listed here, but as you see, it's also 0. And finally, at the end, zikuim chiyuvim kegon chavilot chul tosafot glisha shirotim nosafim. If I'm owed any money back, zikui, credit, or chiyuvim, other charges. For example, If I buy minutes or data for going abroad, additional time, internet surfing time, and additional services. If I had any, it would be listed there, but it's zero, right? Then I get to the next three lines. These all have to do with taxation in Israel. The amount that is not required VAT, which is 64 shekel. The amount that is required to be taxed by VAT, the total amount that is taxed, 18%. Total bill, 99 shekel and 30 agorot, right? Then it says under here, usual language, it says, תיתכן אי התאמה של אגורה בסכומים כתוצאה מעיגול סכומים. There might be an אי התאמה, an basically what it's saying, let me paraphrase it rather than directly translate it, because oftentimes you need to round up and down with the amount of agorot that you owe. That's the cents in Israeli currency, agora. You can't have they're phasing out the five agorot, and you certainly can't have anything that ends with a five or a zero, so it's often rounded up or down depending on what number it is. So it's saying here that there might be a difference or differential based on rounding up or down. If you want a perut zichot zamin, if you want a detailing of all the calls that you made, you can get it zamin. It's available for downloading lahorada in your account on Golan Telecom's website. Okay. It says here, for your information, the detailing of hours of calls abroad is according to the Israeli time and day and time of the call. So if you're abroad in North America, for example, and you're using, you have Golan and you're using their abroad package, it'll be listed as if it's that day or time, which does make a difference depending on what kind of package you have. We'll look at that in a minute. Okay, and right, as we said before, this cheshbonit constitutes a receipt only after the bill is paid. Okay, then there's a banner ad, and then it's giving me all the information of how to get in touch with customer support from Golan Telecom. Again, used to be back in the day, you would have to go online, log into your account to see a breakdown. This comes to me by email. It's a PDF, 2 pages. I can see it all. I can also go on the website. If I download their app, I could also see it as well. This is now the standard of most cell phone companies. We've talked about this before in the history of telecommunications. Golan really changed the rules when it came to cell phones. There used to be only three major cell phone carriers. Golan came in, lowered everyone's prices, and made it much easier to switch between packages and partners, and in no small part because the founder of Golan is himself an Oleh Chadash, is an immigrant himself. So all the more reason for us Olim to not only learn Hebrew, but also learn how Israel works and also how Israel doesn't work. Hence, needing to create a new cell phone company that really has changed the rules of how telecom works in Israel. Okay. Let's move down to the second page. Okay. This is, again, pretty straightforward, which is great for what we're talking about here in terms of reading your cell phone bill. Again, Golan's communication at the top. You see where it's blanked out. That's otherwise my phone number. And here's where we get the details more of what's included in my cell phone package and what's not. So it says Sikum cheshbon lamanui. So the summary of the bill of the account, right? Manui also means an account. And then it includes my phone number, which I blacked out. And it says 40 gigabytes, 40 giga, as you would say in Hebrew, 40 gigabytes of surfing. Hakol kalul, everything is included. Gam bachul, that's the name of my package. Hakol kalul, gam bachul. It rhymes, it's cute, it means all inclusive, including abroad, right? Be'alut chodshit, for a monthly fee of 99 shekel and 30 agorot, litkufa, and for the monthly period that we just discussed, right? And then you see everything again, chiyuvim kvuim down here, right? Set prices, set cost, and the alut of the chavila, my specific package. If I had other ones here, for example, if I was on family plan, if I had a pay-as-you-go plan, that would be listed here as well. The breakdown in price again, and then we get into the details of how much time I've used. And this is going to be very important. I'm going to show you another way to look at it if you have Golan, but also your other cell phone providers will do the same thing. Here it's listed out in text. I'm going to show it to you in graphics in a little bit. Okay. So it says here, Nitzul chavila lemanui, right? Nitzul comes from the verb lenatzel, to take advantage of. So nitzul means how much I've used up of my monthly package, right? As we said, it includes 40 gigabytes. So what's included in all of it? So it says here, sichot, right? Let me see if I can make this a little bit easier to see where exactly I am. Good. Okay, yes, save. Right, so sichot. Or not. Sorry, just trying to make this easier for you all to see. That didn't work. Okay, sichot. It says here that I have used 66 minutes and 20 seconds, right? That's what it means here, 66:20. So 66 minutes and 20 seconds out of 10,000 minutes. Okay, and it says here, i.e., 0.66% of my total minutes. And it says here, it breaks down even who I called. 53 minutes and 26 seconds were on a nayad. Nayad is a mobile phone coming from the word yad, right? Nayad means mobile. It's not just your phone. It could be a machshev nayad, a mobile computer, as in a laptop computer. Anything that's mobile, nayad. As opposed to nayach. Nayach is something that is steadfast. In the case of phones, a landline phone. Okay, so if I called an office, if I called someone who still has a landline phone in their home, right? I made 11 minutes and 21 seconds worth of calls to landline phones and another 1 minute and 33 seconds to other phones. That could be some other form of communication. Okay, so I see a detail of how many minutes I used. This obviously comes from a period when, first off, there are packages that have far few minutes, but also from the periods where how many minutes you had really made a difference, and you often didn't have nearly close to 10,000 minutes. Excuse me. So you really want to see a breakdown of how much time you were on the phone. Same thing with SMSs. SMSs, remember, are the old school, usually at the bottom of your phone, it looks like a talk bubble. That's what we call an SMS, a text message. That is different than using a text app. This is straight up SMS going straight to your phone. And it says 0 out of 7,000 SMSs, meaning I have sent 0 out of 7,000. I've certainly gotten a lot, as a good Israeli has. But since we have moved on from the days of SMS, which, by the way, used to be very popular to use because they were cheaper to send and receive than a call. And we've moved on to WhatsApp, where I believe the largest per capita user of WhatsApp in the world. If you don't believe me, you haven't spent enough time in Israel, more or less with Israelis, but we are very much avid users of WhatsApp because it uses internet and thus not dependent on this SMS, right? So that's why this is at 0, because who am I sending an SMS to in 2025? MMS, I'm not using any of those. Glisha, right? And what does it say here? Glisha. Glisha means surfing. It literally means surfing or gliding. And what we're talking about is like the old school way of saying surfing the web, right? We used to say that. We still use that verb here in Israel. So this is your internet data package. And it says here that I use 28.652 gigabytes out of 40 gigabytes that I have each month, a totaling 71.63%. Okay, that's also very important because if I go over, it costs money. Oftentimes, that's where most people in the 21st century go in to treble and I have to pay extra. In which case, where would that extra be? All right, it would be in any of these, right? Especially chiyuvim mishtanim, ma'avar lechavila or michutz lechavila. If I went over more money, or if I had extra that I didn't pay for a package and I just kept surfing, I would need to pay for that in some capacity, right? But it would be listed up there. And then it says, 100 dakot sicha leyadim nivcharim, that I have 100 minutes specific for set destinations. If I remember correctly, that has to do with abroad destinations. So if I put in there that I have specific places I need to call on a regular basis, I have 100 minutes included, and I didn't use any of those. Right? This is a next part is important, especially for those of you who either travel or call a lot abroad. Golan, again, was one of the first to stabilize and cheapen how it was to stay in touch abroad. Usually, you had to buy an additional package to your existing cell phone package. And nowadays, people do that, of course, or they get an eSIM, but also your cell phone provider in Israel will offer you either an additional package when you go abroad, or it's already included in what you have, as you saw in the name of mine, Hakol Kalul, all included Gam Bachul, including being abroad. So as you see here, it says 45 days Bachul, 45 Yom Bachul, 45 days in Hul. How many minutes calls did I have? 0 out of 5,000 minutes. 0 out of 5,000 SMSs, 0 out of 6 GB that I'm given for a given block of time, right? Nitzul yamim b'chul, shnati. So what does this 45 yom b'chul means? Golan has a package where every calendrical year you get 45 days in which you have X amount of minutes and X amount of surf time to use within it, right? So let's say I go abroad for a week and then I go abroad for 2 weeks, right? So 14 plus 7, 21. That means I have another 24 days abroad where this package is included, right? In which I have 6 GB of internet, 5,000 calls, 5,000 SMSs. It's not a lot of gigabytes for internet, but that means no Wi-Fi. I'm just roaming, which is still important to have. And I've used up 29 of my 45 days. Okay, so at the end of the next time I go abroad, it needs to be, right, do the calculation itself. It needs to fit under 45 days altogether. If it goes over, I'm going to need to buy another package to fill out the rest of the year. Okay. And on top of that, I've also bought what they call chul mitgalgelet. Chul, again, is abroad. Mitgalgelet rolls over. So those 45 days don't roll over, but this package does, which says that I buy X amount of minutes in SMS and uh, um, excuse me, of internet surfing, right? So it says that I've used 12 minutes and 48 seconds out of 100 minutes, 0 out of 100 SMSs, and 10 gigabytes out of 10 gigabytes. So I've used up the package with regards to internet, but I still have time on that for minutes and for SMS. So as to say, I gave myself a lifeline, right? When you're abroad, you can always add more minutes if you're doing it through your own provider. Going through another provider, obviously they'll offer you to top up as well, right? And now here it's giving me all the breakdown, all the small minutia of my own package, right? Right? Kav ze b'chavila 40 giga hakol kalul gam b'chol. It's telling me everything about my line, that it has 40 gigabytes, that it's 99.30 euro, 39.3 shekel a month, and so forth. Everything I can do with it. It includes sichot, phone calls, misronim, SMSs, multimedia messages. And it says very specifically, actually, I didn't know this, that I have 10,000 minutes, 7,000 SMSs and 1,000 multimedia, various types of multimedia messages I can get. Surfing every month up to 40 gigabytes, meaning I have 40 gigabytes on it. If I go over, I'll need to pay, or I can use Wi-Fi. Don't have to use that. Um, Calls abroad to landline phones in 56 countries. Um, and then in certain countries, also mobile phones. So, for example, it says in 56 countries for landline phones. And in the US and Canada, also cell phone numbers. Okay. By dialing 00 and then the number or other means of calling. And then it gets into a lot of details about how to make those calls and so forth. This is your cell phone bill. Okay. Whether you have Golan or not, this is all the basic information that will be on your cell phone bill. Now, and like I said, we're going to look at this a little bit more on Wednesday. And in fact, we're going to stop early today because I want to entice you even more to sign up for Wednesday's class, which you can still do on via the Nefesh B'Nefesh website if you haven't joined us before. Let's say I want to change my plan. So I'm going to show you how I do it on Golan's thing in 2025, which makes it actually a lot easier. If I can pull it up. There we go. Okay, let me pull back. Okay, hold on. This is not what I wanted to show first. Okay, let me pull up what I wanted to show first. Just a second, folks. There we go. Okay. So if I go to the Golan website, which is very user-friendly and has English on it, but of course we're going to do this in Hebrew because not all of yours are going to have English on their website. I get the share function will let me. Yep. I have my own personal site on it where I see all my details, right? And it says here, it's down, right? Again, blocked out my number. Okay, and it says here, shimushim avul, and then my phone number, right? The usage or how I use my cell phone number, i.e. my plan, right? So instead of being all that heavy text, now it's written out pretty simple, right? It tells me how much I've used in a given time. So usage ba'aretz, shimushim ba'aretz, meaning how much I've used of my package in Israel. And it says here, glisha, again, um, internet, 4.2 gigabytes out of 40 gigabytes. How many minutes I've had? 27 minutes out of lelo hagbala, out of no limit in terms of phone calls, unlimited phone calls, and SMS 0 out of unlimited SMSs that I've sent. Okay. And then it says here under it, Behul. So we looked already at how much I've used abroad in Israel. Now we're looking at how much I've used abroad. Glisha, internet usage, 0 out of 6 gigabytes, right? So this past month, I had 6 gigabytes to use abroad. I didn't use any of them. And then the total amount I've used in this calendar year of being abroad, 30 out of 45. Okay, it's a 29 before, it's 30, right? So it means I have 15 more days I can use abroad in this current package. Otherwise, I need to buy more. And then I think you can see it says right here, פירוט השימושים מתעדכן בכל כמה דקות, כל כמה שעות, excuse me, that all these details are regularly updated every few hours. But let's say I want to go and change my package. You saw the price, you saw what I get. Maybe I want to see if there's a better deal. And if I go to Golan's website and I sign in and I get to that page, and then I have the option of a whole bunch of things I can do here, right? And they make it easy for me to figure things out. But what I can do, right? Very top right, achlafat chavila. top right thing where you see those two arrows circling each other, החלפת חבילה, changing my package, right? If I were to click on that, you would see it would open up a window and it would give me all the other options I have and how much difference of a price it would be. I can do that on my own on the Golan's website, by the way. I can do that on my own research. But this way, I'm already logged into my account. I have my credit card information in there. All my information's in there. It's just a matter of 2 clicks or 3 clicks even, and I can change my package if I want. Right? I can do all sorts of other stuff on this website, right? Chavilot Chul, if I want to buy more minutes or internet time while being abroad, turning on a SIM or an eSIM card, looking at my account, changing my payment methods, all the other information here, right? Or if I want to add a line to my current account and so forth. What we're going to talk about on Wednesday is this top right one, Akhlafat Chavila, because I just showed you how easy it is. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes your cell phone provider is not going to make it that easy for you to find. Or sometimes you're going to see something advertised one place and you need to know, do I get the same discount as it's being advertised? That happens quite a lot here in Israel to entice you to move to a different plan or to a different provider altogether. What we're going to do on Wednesday, apropos finding your voice, which again is the topic that we're doing for the next few weeks, is you have a cell phone plan currently and you want to get to another cell phone plan. Point A, your current plan. Point B, your other plan. How do you get from point A to point B? What's the language you need to use? How do you get from point A to point B, especially if there's a price difference? That means you're going to be paying less. That's what we're going to be doing on Wednesday. To get the vocabulary and the conversation prompts for that, you're going to need to sign up for Cafe Oleh Conversations. You will be getting those prompts at least 24 hours in advance so you can practice them. Because in Wednesday's breakout rooms, right, because that's how we do it on Cafe Oleh Conversations, you're going to be broken up into rooms based on your proficiency level, and you're going to be given a script and how to, one person's going to play the customer and the other person's going to play the service provider, and you're going to have to negotiate a better deal, or you're going to ask for all the different tricks and tips there are, and I'm going to share them with you by virtue of the vocabulary. How do I get to what I want? And if I'm not getting what I want, what are some basic bargaining tools I can use to get my way, or at least get something out of it? Okay, that is Wednesday's class. So I'm leaving you a little bit in suspense, but I hope that means that many more of you will join on Wednesday's class. You can always sign up on Cafe Oleh's website, on Nefesh Benefish's website. We hope you'll do that. I'm going to answer some questions in the Q&A right now. But apropos finding your voice, there's no better way to find your voice than literally practice with us. We provide the same resources and materials to do so on Wednesday. Please join us on Wednesday. Let me get to some Q&A now. But in the meantime, like I said, we're going to be taking a break next week and come back with our winter sessions starting December 8th. And we're going to continue with this finding your voice. So if you saw last week's class where we talked about the passive voice, and I mentioned that a couple of the slides you are going to be seeing in a few weeks, those are those classes. We're going to, as I call it, we've talked about this before, where we not only revolutionize how you think about how Hebrew's created and how everyday words, sentences are created. I use the analogy of the matrix. You are going to learn what the matrix looks like and how to actually bend and shape the matrix. And if that's not a cultural cue for you, you'll still want to join us on in our winter sessions, and certainly this Wednesday, where you get to practice with each other how to bargain and haggle. Okay, let's get to some questions. If I can move this. Can you use your Israel phone number in the USA? You can, provided that that's part of your phone package. Um, Highly recommending not going abroad until you know what your package looks like, so you don't come back and find an exorbitant fee on your bill like I showed you where it would be. To obtain mobile service, is it as simple as bringing one's iPhone from abroad and registering for service? Oftentimes, yes. In the 21st century, you no longer have to have some special phone to do it. Many Israelis go abroad, buy a cell phone, which is often cheaper, get an unlocked phone and come back to Israel and either already have a SIM card and put it in there or have an eSIM card. That's all to say if you already have a cell phone abroad, it's usually easy to take out your previous phone provider and put in a new one. Will I be putting all these phrases on translating and building the vocab list? Some of them yes, some of them no. You're just going to have to review the lesson. That is the perks of having a free lesson for you folks. You get to watch it all over again. I've heard of yitachen. Could that be the titachen under the how to understand? Yes, yitachen and titachen are both synonyms of efshal. Or for those of you with a more rudimentary vocabulary, yacholiot. It could be. It's possible. It's likely. All the things that's showing something conditional that's not yet certain. Yitachen and titachen are simply a matter of gender. Yitachen masculine, titachen feminine, and that's modifying whatever words come after it. So if the word that comes after it is masculine, the word is yitachen. If it's feminine, it's going to be titachen. When you call the cell phone company, will someone speak to you in English if requested? Doubtful. There may be some companies, I believe Anatel is one that many Olim Chadashim, very new immigrants like because they have more interface in English. Golan did for a while, but no. The general rule in Israel is that even if there is an English option, oftentimes the person at the other end will not have English. Hence, joining us for Wednesday's class, we're going to learn how to do all this in Hebrew. Mehave. Mehave means constitutes. The verb lehavot means to constitute. How do you shut off nudnik-like stores that send constant SMS? Is there an Israel no call to stop robocalls? There isn't. You can, however, in your phone indicate that a number is spam, and that will automatically screen it out of your service. There are also lots of apps that you can use that do that for you. There's one that I use called, what's it called? Truecaller, where you're able to see more details about the person calling, and you can decide to not only not accept the call, but also designate it as spam so it won't come back to you. Is WhatsApp less expensive and why? WhatsApp is free. It is an entirely free app. I know I'm speaking to a lot of Americans. I'm not presupposing the person asking this question is American, but since most Americans still don't use WhatsApp, let me give a quick, brief rundown for WhatsApp. WhatsApp is an app. It came around several years ago. It's revolutionary genius for Israelis. It's not an Israeli invention. However, Israelis are some of the biggest per capita users of it in the world. Why? Because for many years, an SMS, both giving and receiving, was cheaper than a phone call in Israel, which is why Israelis are really good at texting. And when WhatsApp came around, it was revolutionary because Israelis were already used to texting rather than calling. It's, by the way, the reason why Israelis do not leave voicemails. So if you're calling an Israeli, don't leave a voicemail message because back in the day, to call your voicemail to get that message constituted part of your minutes, which was quite expensive in the day. So that's why we don't do that. Instead, you see that someone called, it either means you call back or they'll try calling you again. WhatsApp came around, and just like an SMS, you were sending text, but WhatsApp is an app. So it didn't count against your SMS total amount. It constituted your internet. And if you say have Wi-Fi in your home or in your office or in a cafe, or you're stopping by a cafe that happens to have it, you're standing outside, you can now send messages for free. So WhatsApp is a much more attractive way to send information. And now that WhatsApp, you can also not just send messages and text, you can send voice messages, you can call, you can video call on WhatsApp. It is a very, very popular software outside of the United States. It has yet to catch on in the United States, but trust me, anyone who comes to Israel will be like, I can't believe I haven't been using this all this time. Does a paper printed bill like your example mean that you haven't set up online payment via the bank? It said very clearly my means of payment. No, it does not mean that because even if you have a what we call a standing order in Hebrew hora'at keva, meaning that your service provider automatically deducts money out of your bank account, you're still by law required to get a receipt. That's basic consumer rights and common sense, by the way, folks, because you should be able to see what you're being charged and not just pray and trust that everything is all right. Never do that, even in Israel. So it said specifically, I'm paying by a credit card, but that doesn't change. If I'm paying by a standing order, I would still get a receipt. Is there a way to get a list of who one called and when? Yes, as I said, as it showed you, if I go into my personal account on the website, it'll give me a full list of everyone that's called and I've called. Are all cell phone bills from different providers set up the same way? They may be structurally different, but they're going to have the exact same information. How do I find out if my Golan plan lets me call 1-800 numbers from my Golan account? You need to check on your Golan account. You need to go into the website, log in. It's going to ask you for your phone number. It's going to give you a verification code, and you're going to need to put in the last four digits of your credit card in which you pay, your Teudat Zehut number, and I forget there's one other piece. And then it will show you what your plan includes and doesn't include. And then you're going to come on Wednesday and you're going to learn how to ask for additions or subtractions to your account. How do you pay for the internet connection if you have a PC? And if you have 10,000 minutes, why do you pay so much for just 66 minutes? How do you pay for the internet connection if you have a PC? Like you would have a PC anywhere, you need an internet connection that is a different service provider. There are some service providers in Israel that offer you internet, TV, and cell phone. I don't have that. I have a separate provider for my internet at home and a separate for my cell phone. My cell phone does come with internet, 21st century, and it's a rather nice phone. But I have a separate one for home internet. And if I have 10,000 minutes, why do you pay so much for 66 minutes? You didn't understand my bill. I have 10,000 minutes. If I use them or if I don't use them, I pay the same amount. If I go over 10,000 minutes, then I'm going to start paying more money. Okay. I pay what I pay because I want the part that's about going abroad. That's my personal decision. On Wednesday, you're going to talk about what you want from a cell phone plan and what you're looking for and how do I go about getting it. Tzpiya b'cheshbon means viewing your bill, not a peek. Litzpot is to look at, to watch, but in this case, it means to view your bill. What is the most common method of payment in Israel? Credit card. Checks are, with the exception of some landlords becoming obsolete. Bank account in terms of either bank transfers, which are very popular, or standing orders are also popular. But for example, Golan largely involves credit cards. I will be spending 2 to 3 months in the US. Are there better plans for that, or am I better off having two eSIMs, which I do now? eSIMs are usually more economic, depending on what kind of plan they have. The cell phone packages sometimes can be good, but it also depends on how much you're using and how people are getting in touch with you. For example, my abroad plan works because most people will contact me via WhatsApp, or they know to contact me via WhatsApp. And if I have access to Wi-Fi, I'm not using up any of my abroad surfing time, right? I'm not using any of my data up if I'm on Wi-Fi. Besides Golan, what are the popular competitors? The big three are the original Pelephone, Cellcom, and Partner. Those are the big three. In addition, there's a whole bunch of other ones like Hot Mobile, like Golan, like Anatel, and a few others. How do I know when to add he or who before the direct object? It seems like sometimes it is required and sometimes not, and I can't figure out why. Great preview for a class we have coming up in the winter session. I told you it's all about finding your voice, so that is a great cue to one we're going to have in December. So you're definitely going to want to stick around and sign up for the winter session very soon because we're going to talk about all the little fillers and in Hebrew, all the articles, things that we otherwise take for granted in English. And what the heck do you do when there is no version of to be in the present tense? Because we do not have a to be in the present tense. So how do I know when to put he or who or not put it there? Stay tuned. Are minutes rounded up to the nearest minutes, e.g., a 30-second call is counted as 1 minute? No. Unless that's specified in your bill as to how they count, and it will say that as you sign up. No, 30 seconds is 30 seconds. It's not rounded up to 1 minute. Okay. Can you sign up for the winter sessions yet? Rena will have posted the link in the chat right now. If not, do not worry, folks. You will be getting an email prompt, and it will be on the Nefesh B'Nefesh website shortly. But glad to hear that you're already eager to sign up. But it's already in the chat. You'll be able to sign up there. Excuse me. With that, we're going to stop a little early today. First off, Toda Rabah, thank you all for joining. This recording will go up on YouTube in the next day or two. So number one, be sure to sign up for this Wednesday's Cafe Oleh Conversations, which is currently on the website, on Nefesh B'Nefesh's website, where we're going to practice articulating what we're looking for in a cell phone plan and how to get there with a service operator. So all the reasons, at least to take away a good number of them to ask, will that service be available in English? I'm going to teach you how to do it in Hebrew. And then we're going to take a break next week so we can get ready for a winter session, advertise, get even more people excited for joining us for Cafe Oleh, easily the world's largest regularly scheduled Hebrew class, which is no small part thanks to you joining us. So again, Toda Rabah, and we'll see you on Wednesday. And if not, we'll see you in 2 weeks from today. Until then, litraot. Take care.